Sri Guru Charitra, Chapter 32 Triumph over Death with Guru's Grace. This chapter describes how Savitri's husband regained his life by Gurunath's grace. Siddhamuni continued with the narrative. The Tapasvi described to Savitri all the duties that pertain to women in their family life. He also described the duties that pertain to them after one loses the husband. He said that a woman who has lost her husband will have to adjust herself to the new situation. In grief, in olden times, women used to enter the funeral pyre along with their husband's body, which is called as sati or sahagamana. They believed that life with one's husband was a relationship of continuous companionship, not only in this world but in the life beyond as well. It denoted both worldly as well as, or actually even more, spiritual companionship between the wife and the husband. According to the belief, a pativrata who mounted the funeral pyre along with her husband's body certainly attained liberation. Note: the views expressed in this chapter is not relevant to modern times. One needs to understand the same in the context of the days when these thoughts were prevalent. But it was intended to be a totally voluntary and subjective act undertaken wholeheartedly. It was not to be a matter to be forced upon the woman, but one based on her conviction and her own choice. There were exemptions or exceptions provided for regarding the Sahagamana. A woman carrying and a nursing mother were forbidden to take Sahagamana. If a widow chose to live her life as per Shastric injunctions and tradition, she was not needed to take the Sahagamana. If she lived a pure and austere life during her widowhood, she was supposed to earn as much merit as she would have got through Sahagamana. The disciplines to be observed by a widow as per Shastric injunctions or tradition were described by the Tapasvi. She was not supposed to wear the headdress, hair. She was expected to take only one meal a day, observe Chandrayan Vrat, that is increase and decrease her food intake as per the kalas, that is phases of the moon, restrict her food and give up all the comforts of life to whatever extent possible, take to austere habits, occasionally go on pilgrimage to holy places, perform tarpan, that is food and water offerings to the soul of the departed husband if she is without a son, observe the bathing rituals in the month of Vaishak, Magh and Kartik, discard bangles and wear white sari, take only a subordinate position in the household, abstain from demanding too much and from exercising her authority, and abide by the will of a son who, of course, was expected to revere and love her as a dutiful son and respect her wishes. It was understood that the woman would surrender and transfer her responsibilities of the household to her son and daughter-in-law and devote more time in the memory of her husband and contemplation of God. In the above way, Sage Brihaspati narrated all the Pativrata Achar dharmas to the rishis and gods who had assembled at the Agastya ashram. And now the Tapasvi, Shri Narsimha Saraswati in disguise, recounted the same to the woman who had lost her husband and who sought advice and guidance as to the duties and mode of the life of a woman in her different stages of life. Thus the Tapasvi tried to console and comfort her in her bereavement and advised her to pick up courage to face the irretrievable situation and pursue her duties as ordained for women, but ever remembering the transitoriness of all life and the eternity of the spirit. The woman was very much touched by the solicitude of the Tapasvi for her ultimate welfare. She expressed to him that her mind was much pacified and she profusely thanked him for dispelling her ignorance and freeing her from the meshes of the illusion of the mundane life. She told him that he was her all, mother, father and God. She however said in a determined and resolute manner that she had chosen to do Sahagamana along with the body of her husband. The Tapasvi gave her bhasma and told her to besmear her husband's forehead with it. He gave her 4 rudrakshas to be tied to the husband's ears and the body before it was consigned to flames. She was also asked to perform Maharudra Abhishek before the cremation and thereafter visit the Sangam and seek the blessings of Gurunath there before the final ceremony. The woman now got all the preparations done for the funeral and her Sahagamana. She invited the priests and asked them to start the funeral sacraments with the chant of the prescribed mantras. She took her bath, adorned herself with all her ornaments and the bright red kumkum mark on her forehead. She took the dead near the river, carrying also the fire in her hand. All the men and women of Kangapur gathered there, hearing of the sad event. They were all moved to tears because the woman was so young, hardly 16 years of age, and so beautiful. They were trying to persuade her not to do the Sahagamana, saying that it was not proper for a young girl of her age. She was almost a child still. But the woman adamantly stuck to her resolve. She got the firewood piled up. She called the Suhasinis there and gave away whatever she had. She requested them to bless her and further to send word to her in laws that her husband and herself were doing very well at Kangapur and that none should let them know the truth as it would break their hearts. When she was about to mount the funeral pyre, she remembered suddenly the instructions of the Tapasvi. She tied the Rudrakshas given by him, 2 to the earlobes and 2 on the chest of her husband's body. She applied the bhasma on his forehead. Then she rushed to the Sangam to seek Gurunath's blessings before taking to Sahagamana as previously advised by the Tapasvi. The woman approached the Sangam and saw Gurunath seated under the Audumbar tree. She fell prostrate at his feet. The Guru blessed that she would soon be the mother of good children. Suputra Prapti Rastu. The people who accompanied her told Gurunath that she had lost her husband and had come to him to seek blessings for her Sahagamana along with her husband's body. Sri Narsimha Saraswati told them to bring the dead body to him at the Sangam. The body was brought. Just at the time, 4 Brahmins came there to offer their worship to Sri Narsimha Saraswati. Gurunath asked the Brahmins to sprinkle Charan Tirth on the dead body. This was done, and lo, the dead body rose to life as if from sleep. The revived man noticed his wife, whose face lit up with wonder and joy at seeing the unbelievable, and asked her how they happened to be there. The woman told all that had happened, how Gurunath retrieved him from the realm of death and restored to her the Mangalya, and thus protected the lives of both of them. Both of them fell at Gurunath's feet and bathed them with their tears, which were welling out from their innermost depth of their hearts. Thus ends the 32nd chapter of Sri Guru Charitra, describing how faith triumphed over death with Gurunath's grace. Glory to the all-merciful, the omnipresent, and the ever-responsive Gurunath. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha.